It's not just polygyny. It's not just monogamy. It's the people in it. So that's why I had to get my son's perspective because he's seen it from different perspectives. He's seen it from different angles. Assalamu alaikum. Peace. It's your Coach Nyla, one of the co-founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships, as well as co-author of the book Let's Talk Polygyny Uncensored. And I am going to be talking polygyny. Let's talk polygyny with. Introduce yourself.
Khalil, her son.
Eldest son, Khalil. So, polygyny. You've been a part of a polygynist family for
11 years? Yeah, like
12 years.
12 years, yeah.
Yeah.
12 years.
12 years this year, alhamdulillah. So how has that shaped your view on like relationships and things like that? Okay, let's think about that. You said for about 12 years, or we said about for 12 years.
Yeah, for about 12.
Over 12 years. But how has that been? Because how old were you then? That was like, you about to be what?
Oh, I was about to be 11.
No, what are you about to be?
I'm going on 23. So yeah, I was around 11.
Yeah, 23 years old. So yes. So you were fairly young. Fairly young. You know, remember stuff, but fairly young. So how did it shape your views on like relationships and things like that, even up until now? Like, what has that done for you?
What I could say, it has, like me being like growing up in a polygynous household, it made it normal. Like it felt like it was normal. I didn't realize that polygyny wasn't such a norm until I ventured out onto my own, until I left the house.
How was that anyway?
Oh no!
Because I bet you got like a lot of no. So this is an interesting thing too, because I know you got questions then, but people have asked before about how the kids, get asked the questions. Have you gotten that when you were in school? Because I mean, you did go to a brick and mortar school, kind of, sort of, but I don't remember if you were. I guess you were homeschooled for the most of the time.
For the most part, no, because I went to brick and mortar. That's pretty much about 8.
Okay, so yeah,
so
it wasn't
there was some time,
but
there was some time before.
But you were in different programs, and you did deal with different people as well during that time. So even though you weren't at school, you were in different programs, you were around different people, you had friends who weren't exposed to stuff like that. How was that growing up?
I'm trying to mess in the car. But I mean, a lot of my friends and I that I talked to a lot, polygyny rarely came up until we were grown. Like the topic of polygyny was rare until like we grew older. Now we talk about it more within the past 2 years than we have within the past 10.
Yeah, so that's the funny part. Because people think that the kids, the kids care. People think that little kids or young kids care and ask, and they probably do. I don't know. That's why I said I want to know, or you to share your experience of that growing up, because you were still young. You were still dealing with your friends. These are friends that you still have to this day, but people think that like, oh, well, how did your kids feel, when people found out that they were in in a polygynous family, did they have people teasing them or had questions and all this other stuff like that? Like, that's not the topic of conversation for kids.
Plus, you know what I'm
right?
saying?
With you.
I don't even remember being that kid talking about how I got two mommies. You know what I'm saying?
Who's actually married to the same man. Yeah, you gotta be careful with that. You know, people will be talking some two mommies and then a whole totally different thing.
Exactly. So it's like, yeah, real talk. Kids really don't care. At least I wasn't one of them. But you know what I'm saying? It wasn't, to me, it was normal. It was just like it seemed like such a normal household until I left it and realized that my household is the only one, that's polygynous, which was an interesting culture shift. Eventually spending time with my biological father, and then eventually growing out into my own lane, my own world, and just noticing where not only polygyny was a rarity, in fact, nearly non-existent, but also talked down upon. I was like, oh, I wouldn't do that. Oh, I couldn't do that. Oh, I couldn't. I mean, personally, I would say it's like, look, personally, that's like, look, that's a you problem. You know what I'm saying? And of course, that may sound biased to me saying that because of how I grew up. But then again, that's much like a person who grew up in a monogamous household who only had a mother and a father, and even those cases is rare. You know what I'm saying? Most of us growing up with only our mother or only our father. So,
and the people who you were connected with.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Cool. So how has that shaped your thoughts on relationships? Because you've seen it. I mean, you've been raised pretty much in a polygynous family. However, as you stated before, you ventured out, you spent some time with, your dad and different things like that, and that dynamic, and your granny and your grandma, and these different people who don't practice polygyny, have not practiced polygyny or anything like that. How has that shaped your views and your thoughts on relationships and what you may be thinking about in the future? Is that something that you're like, because people will say that, and people are like, well, we've had people that stated that our kids going to expose us for the frauds that we are. But we have a lot of loving people that just want to know what our kids even think about, because, and they wonder, like, do we think about the kids? Do we talk about, we talk about this to the kid, these things like that. Now we have adult children who were younger in it, and now they see it through different eyes.
Honestly growing up and seeing glimpses of perspectives outside of the household. I mean, growing up when I wasn't there, the conclusion I came into is all men are polygamous. All men are polygamous. There's no exception to the rule, personally.
And why you say that?
I see so many people. I would say my brother, but my close friend was, but there was a lot of women that he was involved around, and it was being in a monogamous relationship hindered a lot of things for him, where it was like it's a broken trust, this and the third, yada, 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 a lot of jealousy, a lot of selfishness and different stuff like that. But in actuality, and then I look at the household and the family that I was raised around, and how it was such a powerhouse. It was more of an addition. Like, it was I'm trying to figure out how. It's like yin and yang. I think of it as yin and yang. You got the black, you got the white, and it fuses together, and it just creates this amazing powerhouse. But it's just I know.
Stop speaking in riddles.
But the way I view it is just it opens many doors. It opens many doors. We're more open to I mean, it's more and more, or we're more open in communicating. I mean, communication wise, nothing's being held behind our backs, this and the third, as opposed to what I've seen in the monogamous relationships. There's so many secrets that when it, and eventually everything spill over and all hell break loose. It's, yeah.
Do you think though, is that more of a learning to communicate better? I guess I can't say problem, but learning to communicate in relationships type of thing. Now, don't get me wrong. You experience these things heavily in different monogamous relationships, which I guess case in point, I would say it's about the people. But in the same instance, you grew up in a polygynous family. That have you seen more or less of the hidden dynamic, or the hidden stuff that you were talking about, the lying, the hiding, the sneaking, the blah blah blah, in the polygynous family that you grew up in? I know this, being transparent is almost like, should I be asking this question? And the polygynous family you grew up in, or in the monogamous relationships that you've experienced throughout your life?
Growing up, being around that age where I was old enough to understand what was going on, no. Where, I mean, there wasn't much. Like, I've seen a whole lot more secrets being kept, hidden, revealed, drama in monogamous relationships than I have in polygynous relationships.
And we're not stating that just polygyny is just all sunshine and roses and rainbows and unicorns and everything like that. We're just making a point, and I just wanted to get this clarity, because a lot of times people look at us and they say, well, we're just so biased and we're polygyny biased and everything like that. However, we really do state, and people also say, well, the kids that grow up in polygyny are so, they're destroyed, or some problems, or there's all these issues, and then their mental is messed up and they can't see all these different things. And usually it has to deal with the people, not the dynamic, not the marriage, so to speak, or not the type of marriage. It's not just polygyny, it's not just monogamy, it's the people in it. So that's why I had to get my son's perspective, because he's seen it from different perspectives. He's seen it from different angles. The relationships that he's seen between his father and the people who he was with, the polygynous marriage that my son grew up in, that consists of myself, Coach Nazir, and my co-wife, Coach Fatimah. The blended family dynamic, the dynamic that we've seen and experienced through my mom, your grandmama, the beautiful marriage dynamic that is monogamous, that your granny has had for a long time. I can't even remember how long she's been married.
It's probably itching on 20 now.
But so we've seen ups and downs in those marriages, but knowing what that is, knowing that marriage is marriage regardless of its polygyny or if it's monogamy, and it's still work that needs to be done on both ends. So it's not saying that one marriage is better than the other, where people seem to think that it's a versus when it comes to those type of marriages.
Mm-hmm. I mean, going back to when you said marriage is marriage, you kind of made me think of something. We say love is love. Mm-hmm. How come polygyny is outside of the equation when you mention that?
That's a good question. It's not for me, but that's a good question. So what are your thoughts on polygyny as a whole?
I know it may sound cliche and mad corny if I say the world would be a better place if polygyny was accepted. But in actuality, what's the point of lying if you're in a polygynous household? If you're in a polygynous household, or if you're in a polygynous marriage, there's typically, if we break this down with monogamy, most of the lies and secrets usually involve another woman. It's always that. It's always that.
for the most part.
For the most
well,
part.
I guess from what, a lot of times we experience that it usually be. So you're saying that's the whole point of that. I guess you were getting at before when you were like, men are polygynists, because you'll have the women out there that were like, well, my man is, he is not being about polygyny. He's super committed to me, and he will not be thinking about anybody else or wanting to be with anybody else. And my mom had somebody, or my great grandma was married to him, and he never stepped out, and he never thought about anybody else, and these different things like that. What do you think about that? I have my own thoughts about that, but what do you think about that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat? Clarify.
The people that, say those things, it's like, you made the comment that all men are polygamous. Mm-hmm. There are women out there that will beg to differ and say, well, because of these men not, going and being polygynous, not stepping out of the marriage, not thinking about anybody else, not these different things, that means that they are not polygynous by nature.
I beg to differ. I will say this to any woman out there. Ask your man, or even just bring up the idea of another woman coming into play and see his response. 9 times out of 10 it'd be yes. Well, he probably don't want to hurt her feelings or, make her mad and hear a lot of, drama and have a lot of drama. So I say ask and say, if I wasn't to cause any drama, that's probably if I wasn't to give you some, some blowback or anything like that, what would you say? If scrutiny was not involved, if scrutiny was not the effect, that would be. Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting question to ask. And sometimes we want to ask that question because we don't want to know the answer. We'd rather assume Coach Nazir, my Coach Fatimah's husband, his bonus dad, he would say a lot. He was like, we'll believe a beautiful lie over ugly truth. So that's what we'd rather hear, the ugly lie. The beautiful lie than the ugly truth. So yeah. Anything else you want to say about it? I don't want it to go too long, but I did, want to just have a little short, candid kind of discussion on polygyny, your thoughts, kind of your, experience, on it, and those different things like that. Yeah, just talk about from the top of my head right now. Yeah, we'll probably continue this conversation. I'm pretty sure we will. I just wanted to have you guys see, from another person's point of view, and actually, I say young man's point of view who grew up somewhat grew up in a polygynous household. He was fairly young and I state fairly young because I think 11 years old is fairly young. It is actually during those kind of, what you call those times, kind of like transitional times and different things like that. However, it's those times where you understand or you start to see different things and your world starts to shape. Yeah, you start to see the world you start to see the world through a different lens. Yeah. So, so to be able to, to see that and hear those things from, one of my offsprings. Anyway, I hope you guys got some good information from this. Definitely leave your comments below, like, comment, subscribe, share, because sharing is caring. And until next time, make sure you are growing intentionally, loving fearlessly, and connecting on a higher level every single day. If you made it this far, congratulations. And in the comments, put let's talk polygyny. Let's put in the comments, let's talk polygyny. And inshallah, God willing, I'll see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.
Here are 3 ways Outstanding Personal Relationships can help you.
Make sure you guys are following us on our social medias at Outstanding Personal Relationships on YouTube and Facebook, and on IG at Outstanding Relationships.
And make sure you sign up for our email list. And you can actually email us at support@Outstanding Personal Relationships, where you will get updates on our new book, Let's Talk Polygyny Uncensored, as well as exclusive access to our lives and bonuses.
Absolutely. If you're looking for more polygyny education, make sure you visit polygamymasterclass.com. Now, if you're looking for coaching or counseling with either Coach Fatimah or Coach Nyla, you can find them at.
Make sure you visit me at CoachFatimah.com.
And myself at CoachNyla.com.
That's how we can help you. Assalamu alaikum.
Peace.
Peace.